Hi, I'm Steve Neuhaus, and tonight I'm here with author Hanania talking about his new book, The King's Pawn. What is your new book all about?
So my new book, The King's Pawn, is about an experiment in which the odds of human rights are just pushed to limits. The rules are perfect. Everything is so regulated. I mean, every last detail is an even number, and especially in the writing process, that was a difficult task for me to do, is keep each number constant. But the idea was to give two kids power in a situation where there are so many rules that's so regulated that it's almost hard to live. So I want to see what would happen if you put two regular kids in this hyper-regulated society.
What inspired you to write the book?
So I'm going to go back to sophomore year English class. That was really the inspiration for me for this book, especially since we were learning about topics like that were pushing the bounds of human morality. So like social experiments, human experimentation, and one in particular, the Stanford prison experiment, which took place in August of 1971. What they did there is they put classmates against each other with no rules, so they could do whatever they want. And by the end of it, by the end of the 6-day experiment, it was just crazy. They were like harassing each other, harming each other. It was just a really bad situation. So I wanted to play off that and just do the exact opposite. So I made all the rules, except the two kids were against the whole society, but I want to see what they would do instead of taking advantage. Maybe would they help their fellow the people, I guess you could say, or the fellow members as they're referred to. And that's what the question really is.
I understand you accomplished this on your iPhone. Was that difficult?
It was difficult because for me, the iPhone is like people's typewriters. So I was born in a generation where iPhones are easy. So we're living around technology. Our life is based around technology. So for older generations, their lives may have been based around the computers or the typewriter. So for somebody who's maybe in their 50s or 60s, they could type a book in their typewriter, and the same amount of time I could type it on my cell phone. But that wasn't really a challenge. The challenge here was just trying to be consistent, because I wrote this in short bursts each day, 3 or 4 hours a day. And that was the tough part, because I would sit down, I would write for maybe 30 minutes in class, I would take a break, I would not remember what I wrote. So if you were to ask me when I was writing this, how the book would come out, I probably couldn't tell you, because I would include certain events that I saw in real life into the book. So you can tell by reading this book where I was in life, because I would often include different things that were going on in the book.
But besides writing, you have many hobbies. Can you tell me about some of the hobbies that you enjoy when you're not writing?
Yeah, so I'm a drummer. I've played for 14 years. The first time I picked up the sticks, it was history. I loved it. You know, I got a vintage kit when I was age 3, so I've had it. I still have most of it. And I also do YouTube on the side, which has given me an outing to be able to express myself in different ways, so I can interview people. And this really allows me to go out and meet people and open new doors, because in interviewing people, you now write stories which expose you to different writing styles, and these writing styles really help in the long run, because now I'm already exposed, so now I can take on new challenges, and these new challenges open more doors. And this is actually, I think, what helped me write the book, is writing with newspapers, learning how to write, and then just taking an idea and just making it a little bit of a longer news story, really.
Can you tell our viewers about some of those famous people that you've had?
Yeah, so I've interviewed the first baseman for Chicago Cubs in 2015. That was the first time I had ever interviewed somebody. So I went in there with paper that was double-sided. I felt really confident. I had no clue what I was doing. I mean, to the point where in the interview you can see me flipping around the pages, and I missed like 2 pages of questions. But that opened the door, because that was such a successful interview. I then reached out to Michael Schofield, he lives out in the south side of Chicago. So he allowed me to do an interview before they went to the Super Bowl, because at this time he was with the Denver Broncos. So after I did that, he liked my interview so much that he let me actually interview him after they won. And these were the first 2 news stories I really wrote. And that really opened the door, because now I was able to write with for the regional, which is out in southwest Chicago. And now that opening that door allowed me to write for other media sources.
That famous Cubs player was Anthony Rizzo.
He was, yes. Yeah, Anthony Rizzo.
That's pretty exciting.
Yeah, and they went on to win the World Series the next year. And one of my questions was, so many people think the Cubs can win the World Series. What do you think? Well, the next year they won.
Yeah. How many writers or reporters of your age get an opportunity to meet and interview?
Yeah, Not many. Not
famous Kennedy family.
Yeah, Chris Kennedy too. I mean, not too many, but like I said, I was with my father, and and it was a spur of the moment interview. I just wanted to see maybe I could interview him because it never hurts to know new people, because knowing new people is the next step to success. Because if you're able to walk up to somebody you've never met and talk to them, I think that makes you successful.
Can you tell us, so what's in the future for Aaron Hanania?
For the future, I'm not quite sure. I do have a second book. I'm writing another one. This is the first book. I'm thinking about writing another book based on the similar concept, but I'm not quite sure yet. I definitely want to go on to interview more people, write more. I'm going to continue doing, but school is first. I got to get through school first. I mean, speaking of school, there's a thing I like to mention. It's called 200 hours. This is a spiel I like to give to people. So when I wrote this book, I would spend during class time, but I would always put school first. And so let's start the day. First of all, I had second hour, which was 30 minutes to work on classwork or go visit teachers. So when I had no homework, there's 30 minutes. Then during lunch, I had 30 minutes and then another 30 minutes because they split it in half. So I would spend 30 minutes there. There's an hour. So then maybe 10, 15 minutes on the bus on the way home. Times 5 days, we're 5 hours a week. Now we have 40 weeks in a school year. So that's 200 hours that I would be working, writing a book. And this is wasted time. This is time in when you might be texting friends, playing games. But instead, I turn it into something productive. I want people to know that you should be able to. The phone it's a really powerful device that if you use it right, you can really do unlimited things in this world. It really just do great things.
And finally, what would you like to share with folks who are watching today?
I would like to share with people that honestly, everybody has at least one book in them. No matter what you think, you have at least one idea deep down in your brain that could really, really lead to something really impactful or beneficial in the future. You could end up writing your own book, but you need to try first. You need to follow your dream, even if you don't know you have it. You just need to show up and follow through it, regardless of how old you are, because I never knew that I would write a book in 2 years. 3 years ago, I never knew it. 3 years later, I would have written a book, but I dreamed big, and I tried, and I just kept taking these open doors, and as a result, I'm here being able to talk to people about sharing their own dreams and opinions.